Okay, we've dealt with the rule, we've dealt with the defense, and we can go back to the defense, but let's start with Andy Dalton. Kind of a roller coaster. All three of the picks targeted Andre Caldwell. I will go to the two NFL players first, and I'll start with the kicker. Is there any?
Since we know so much.
Is there any coincidence that the three targets are to 87 on the pick?
Well, I think the one where he laid out for it, it was just a great play on the DB. But I think on the long touchdown at the end of the half, I think I'd like to see Andre go for the ball a little bit better. And then the other one, I thought he quit on it. I thought he should have kept sliding with the ball. Obviously Dalton threw it basically right in 21's chest. So to me, I think he should have moved on that.
And Caleb, we've seen this with other receivers. Certainly that there is a chemistry problem with guys or a route running problem. If A.J. Green's not on the field, and certainly Andre has worked with Andy Dalton as much as anybody else has worked with him.
True.
Is there anything to this?
To the chemistry problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was really anything that Andre's fault. I think that was a coincidence this week. I think that because he's a rookie quarterback, it's his first year with all these guys. As good as Andy Dalton is, you have to remember that he's a rookie. He is human. He's going to make mistakes. And it's not a good thing, but I like to see him, the fact that he does make a few mistakes, because it reminds me that I'm living in the real world and I'm not asleep and dreaming, that Andy Dalton isn't perfect, that he's not a robot. And, I don't like to see him make mistakes. I don't want anybody to fail or anything like that. But the chemistry will get better as he spends more time with these receivers.
Skinny, and I threw this out on Twitter. I said, that's on Dalton, the first one that he missed a wide open Andre Caldwell, and I got some feedback saying, no, touches his fingers. He's got to get that catch. It may be shared, but in a situation like that, when you've got a receiver, does a quarterback count on a guy making sure he gets to that ball?
Well, let's not forget, he's thrown up a bunch of balls to A.J. Green, who's done what? He's made a play on almost every single one of them. The one that went off Caldwell's hands, you could argue that, but again, that would have been a great catch. Now, that being said, great wide receivers make that catch. A.J. Green might make that catch. Andre Caldwell is a third and fourth wide receiver for a reason, for goodness sakes. He's thrust into a role today that he's not usually playing, which is a number 2 wide receiver. So he's not going to make plays A.J. Green makes.
Okay, Andrew Whitworth and others on the offensive line said there were communication problems in the final 3 plays, which led to the rush that got to Andy Dalton. Whether or not that's noise, whether or not that's not being able to get it straight down the line. This team, because Doug, you said end of time, this team has struggled to get to the fourth quarter and do it in time. They've done it sometimes, but this team likes to take it to the very end. Is that going to end up hurting this team because they're trying to make the playoffs and they can't seem to get it done in the 60 minutes allotted?
No, it could. Obviously, you got to get it done in 60 minutes. Ultimately, I was kind of kidding earlier because I did think it was big plays, but I will hang with that. I do think the clock ran out on them. I think they could still win. I think they're excuses. You don't make excuses at the end of the game. I don't hear Dalton say there's excuses. You make plays, and there is communication. The other team's communicating. I know you're at home, but that's an excuse.
Cadence ends up being a factor. Noise ends up being a factor.
Right.
It may be excuses, but it's the real world of playing in the NFL when it's loud in the fourth quarter.
Right. And it's true. And it's what do you want to hear? Do you want to hear Whitworth tell you the truth? Do you want to hear him do team speak, say, we should have won today? Or you want him to say, well, we messed up. Somebody didn't make the right call. It's what do you want to hear the guy say, the truth or the team speak, one or the other? What I saw on one of the sacks was Brian Leonard one-on-one with Terrell Suggs, whatever you say, however you say his name. Come on, he's not going to block Terrell Suggs one-on-one up there. And there was a 3-man rush. Okay, you don't want to have the end on the back by himself. The last 2 plays were both on Whitworth. That just looked like Whitworth got beat. So I don't know, really, because I don't know from the tail of the tape what it's going to end up being.
Skinny, we're in that same point of the year where everybody's going to have these same complaints, but Carlos Dunlap and Adam Jones both said they weren't 100% today. And you've got 2 guys that are playing and starting who are not 100%. Dunlap says to me in the locker room, I got to get healthy. Can't you see? I wasn't effective. And you're going to have this. This is the way the NFL runs. Does this team have enough health to be able to make that?
That's the big question. One of the things I think we all started to like about this team is it was pretty deep and it had some depth. But eventually, you run out of that depth. You run into the fact of Adam Jones hasn't played very much in the last 2 years, having to play in games, having to play significant time in games where maybe, in a perfect world, he's still a third and fourth corner. I think they are running into that, but they're not the only team in the NFL. And I think what you're also running into a little bit, Brad, is teams are starting to get really banged up. And I don't know if we could ever do a study or see a study this year that says perhaps the off-season issues with the lockout really are starting to affect a lot of players and a lot of teams from an injury standpoint.
I think that's probably a given. All right, let's talk about the division. We got about a minute left. First of all, I want your pick for this week. They get Cleveland at home. And in that answer, tell me who's the best team in the AFC North right now.
I pick obviously the Bengals. I think the Bengals will get the Browns here. I think actually I hate to say it, I think the Steelers are the best team right now. Even though Baltimore's beat them twice, I think the Steelers are.
All right, Caleb.
Yeah, it's. I think they're going to beat Cleveland. They should beat Cleveland, and I have to say, unfortunately, the Steelers, just because I don't believe in Baltimore. And the Bengals are right there, though. It's not too far away.
Okay.
Cleveland's defense can keep them in the game, and that's the only thing that would scare me is if they let Cleveland hang around, and they've let a lot of teams hang around, but they're a better team. They should win this game, and I'll go. I think Pittsburgh is the best team in this division.
Okay, I'll throw one more caveat. Do they win with or without A.J. Green coming back this week?
With Cleveland, I think they win without him. With Baltimore, that's what's so hard when you ask us each week who's going to win or lose. I mean, if you don't know Ray Lewis is playing and you don't know that A.J. Green's playing, so it depends on who's playing. But we should beat the Browns if us four play.
You're the only one that gets to answer that. I'm out of time. I got to send it back to Zach. Zach?